Good evening, I'm Jeff Lyons. It is Tuesday night, October the 14th, 9 o'clock, time for the 14 First Alert Weather Show at 9. Remember, we stream every night at 9 o'clock to give you a long-form weather update. Tonight we have a lot to talk about, and you have the chance to ask questions. You can do that on the 14 News Facebook page. So I'll check your comments here after we get through about half of the program. Excuse me. So first and foremost, we have some great weather to finish out the week. However, the weekend will bring us a threat for severe weather and heavy rainfall, thunderstorms, and the like. Now, our rain chances are highest on Saturday at 70%, and then it starts to taper on Sunday once the cold front moves through. The Storm Prediction Center did not really change significantly the outlooked area for severe weather for Saturday, but as I'm going to show you here in a minute, the favored spot in here seems to be down in Arkansas and southern Missouri as the cold front comes in. So whatever gets up here under that scenario would likely be weakening by the time it got up here later Saturday night. So that may be a mitigating factor. It may make it less of a severe threat for us. The cold front still showing on the models here, the GFS model I'm showing you now, as moving in on Saturday afternoon. And out ahead of that, we'll get a rich plume of moisture off the Gulf of Mexico to support some rain, maybe some heavy rainfall totals over an inch in spots, and thunderstorms as the cooler air clashes with the warm moist. And that will continue through Saturday night and into early Sunday morning. The European model brings it in just a shade later and hangs on to it just a shade longer. But somewhere in that Saturday-Sunday time frame is where we're expecting all the factors to maximize and our best chance for any strong or severe storms. Wind, damaging wind, and hail would be the main threats if that does come together. Now, the GFS has been all over the place with the rainfall modeling. Tonight we're showing around 2 inches of rain area-wide, but earlier today this very same model was advertising about half an inch of rain. So, you know, it'll flip-flop back and forth like that. The GFS is showing about an inch of rain right now, which is half of what the European is showing. So somewhere in there we will get some decent rainfall. At least I'm confident of that. The amount, not so much. Temperatures then pull back. Once the cold front comes through, we kick off next week with high temperatures in the low 70s. All right, let's look at some things that we only really have time to show and talk about here on the First Alert Weather Show. And I know a lot of you are into the weather in a big way, and so we're going to talk about some stuff here. First off, we look at the ingredients that you need to get severe thunderstorms, and the first one is CAPE, or potential energy. And the CAPE numbers here are looking pretty meager for Saturday. Now, we can have severe weather without CAPE, but typically you would need shear, a lot of it, in order to overcome the lack of energy in the atmosphere. And as I'm going to show you here in a minute, not much shear either. So we may be looking at just kind of a marginal threat with a few severe storms based on what the models are showing us today. Low-level jet stream is the next step that we look at. That's the wind at about 5,000 feet off the ground, or 850 millibars. If that is really blowing hard, it can often enhance the storms as they push up into that and cause them to spin or rotate, and that's where you get your hail threat. Sometimes damaging winds and occasionally tornadoes are spawned as the low-level jet starts to pick up. Now, you get that number over 90, then you're talking, you know, more of a severe threat. This jet stream showing at between 30 and 50 knots. So that is a lower end jet stream there at the low level. And of course, these factors have to coincide in order to maximize the thunderstorm potential. And you're going to see that here with shear. Now, I told you that shear numbers were pretty meager. They're actually pretty beefy on Friday night, but we don't have moisture, we don't have CAPE, we don't have any of the other stuff. So we're likely, we will not see the shear lining up with the storms as they come through. There was quite a bit of shear. I think I'm standing in front of it down here over Arkansas. All right, then we look at the dew point. How much moisture will we have? Now that is actually showing some dew points getting up into the mid-60s on Saturday, and that would indicate a pretty good chance of rain. In fact, another component we look at is called precipitable water, how much water is in the column that could be realized as rain. And those numbers are pretty impressive. They're over an inch right now when we look at a forecast sounding or kind of a cross-section of the atmosphere. So moisture would mainly point to a rain event. And now we're looking at the supercell threat. Notice too, it's mainly concentrated down here in Arkansas and not so much up our way. Now again, pay attention to the time there. This is early Saturday morning. By Saturday afternoon, you do see some supercell threat getting a little closer here to the tri-state. And this may be a situation where our southern edge here, like Ohio, Muhlenberg, Hopkins County, would be in the prime spot to get any of those stronger thunderstorms. Then the supercell threat dies down. Tornado threat or significant tornado parameter pops in there on Saturday afternoon around 2. And again, it's just on our southernmost counties here, so down around Muhlenberg and more toward Bowling Green and Hopkinsville. Doesn't mean, by the way, we're going to have a tornado. It's just that's where the model is showing the best potential. And then the winds will pick up. That's probably the highest confidence thing of all, because when the cold front comes through here, you get a tighter pressure gradient as the low deepens there to the north. And we could see some winds of 25, 30 out there gusting just ahead of the cold front. So I guess the sum of all these parts is that while we do have a signal for thunderstorms and maybe severe this weekend, there's nothing, no flashing red lights, no waving flags saying, man, look out, this is going to be a big thing. This is more like if stuff comes together, we might have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings. Can't rule out a tornado, but that's really not the emphasis here. It looks more like wind and hail at this point. This is Tuesday, that's Saturday, so we still have 3 days of weather models to compare and contrast. Temperatures around the area have been on the cool side again this evening with a clear sky. We're in the mid-60s now, and almost all of you enjoying a cool night, I hope. We have some upper 50s showing out at Lewisport, Henderson, Washington there at 58 right now, Jasper's at 62. We hit 80 this afternoon, and that was off of a 53-degree low this morning. So we had, you know, pretty much a classic fall day. It was just a little warmer than normal by about 9 degrees. So this is our first 80 since last Tuesday, and no rain, of course, yet. We have to wait until the weekend for that. We're still in good shape rain-wise. And otherwise, our temperature is slightly warmer than normal. Tomorrow, repeat of today, up to 78 to 80 degrees. Really nothing brewing here in the eastern half of the country as long as that high is blocking everything out. It's also kind of deflecting the rain here across Wisconsin, Lake Michigan there, and into upper Michigan around Traverse City, up into the Sioux and the UP. The tropical tracker is lighting up one tropical system. This is a Lorenzo tropical storm now, minimal tropical storm with 40-mile-per-hour winds expected to weaken and become a non-issue here in the next couple of days, and no threat to anybody. All right, the hour-by-hour forecast, the next notable thing to happen will be an increase of cloud cover. And that will begin on Friday and continue into the evening. So if you're getting out to a football game on Friday night, it's going to be mild, but it will be cloudy overhead too. And then the cold front begins its move as we approach Saturday. Again, a look at the cloud cover. You see it a lot more pronounced there by early Friday morning and continuing into Friday night. The GFS, I'm going to let the whole thing play out now, and you can see the cold front coming together here and then moving across the Ohio Valley Saturday into early Sunday. And again, I'll show you the rainfall totals. Oh, wanted to mention too, we have another kind of a tag-along system here on Tuesday that'll bring another cold front in and possibly some rain then. There's your 2 inches that the GFS is selling us. We go over to the European model and notice the timing here just a little bit later. Say after 2 p.m. we start to get rain in the area, continuing through the night on Saturday, and then lingering Sunday, possibly even into Sunday evening, before we clear out on Monday and then turn back around and get that shot of rain on Tuesday. So, you know, both models are depicting essentially the same thing. Saturday, Sunday rain, Tuesday rain. Both are showing timing that is within hours of each other. So that gives us more confidence, at least in the rain aspect of it. But everything else still up for grabs with regard to just what level of severe threat we have right now. For Saturday, right now my inclination is it's low. It's not zero, but it is low. 81 degrees tomorrow for the high. It'll be sunny, nice out there. The 7-day forecast has that alert day on Saturday. Otherwise, we dry out and cool down next week. Longer range, though, we could see that temperature pop back up in the above normal range. At this time of the year, that would be 70 or higher for the high, and it looks wet, too, as we get up to the 24th of October. All right, there is a mesmerizing stare from Gracie, the big yellow cat, thanks to Bill Mills for our pet pick tonight. All right, let's see what your questions and concerns are. And we got a few of you in there watching. That's always good. All right, Janet Stapleton says hi. Missy Sprigg says hi. Hey, Missy, how are you? Cheyenne Hammond says it feels so good outside. Took a drive in the bluegrass, and it was nice. Yeah, it's just perfect weather. I mean, you know. How did I like the fall festival? Ashlyn Emmons wants to know. It was great. It was, I think the Nut Club, the West Side Nut Club even said this was one of the best that they've had. I was down there every day. I prefer dry to, rain, which we had Monday, but by the afternoon it had pretty well cleared out. And, we had a great week down there. It was really just perfect. Good to see people. Lenny Howard, good evening. Jeff Miller, have I been practicing the toccata and fugue on the organ for Halloween? Well, I haven't. That's one I always kind of have ready to go. But yeah, I don't know if I've used my old recording for the past couple of years. Something about when you have a recording running and you're trying to do something without any mistakes in it, kind of like this. Although this I seem to be able to do without too many mistakes. But music, yeah, it's a little more pressure. Takes many takes to get something that I would then put out on the ether there for everybody to look at. But yes, we'll have something for you, hopefully, for Halloween. All right, hey, we had a couple of shooting stars this morning. I don't know if you saw it on the news today at 4:30, but it was around 2:15 this morning. 2:11, I think, was the time on the Ring doorbells. What do we do before Ring doorbells, by the way? My goodness, we get so many stories with Ring doorbell video, because these things are everywhere now. But anyhow, these two captured a pretty impressive meteor coming down. I mean, like straight down, big tail and the whole thing. And one of the Ring doorbells was in Hanson, which is out there north of Madisonville in Hopkins County, and the other one was somewhere in Muhlenberg County, and both at the same time. So I'm pretty sure they were looking at the same meteor. And if you were wondering, or even if you weren't, I'm going to tell you anyway, meteors are little pieces of space debris. Sometimes they can be as small as a grain of sand or a potato, or they can be, as big as a school bus. As they get larger, of course, there's more matter there to burn up, and they would produce a bigger tail. Meteors are moving through space and toward the Earth at a speed of around up to 60,000 miles an hour, which would be 45 miles in a second. That means I could go from here to Vincennes or here to Madisonville in a little over a second. So these things don't mess around. And because they're moving so fast, when they encounter the atmosphere around the Earth, there's more air molecules or the atmosphere, it creates friction, and so these things then burn up before they reach the ground. Sometimes a big meteor can produce a sonic boom. They make kind of a hissing sound. There have been meteors that have created such a shock wave they've broken windows, in buildings all over cities. Over in Russia, a couple times I've seen videos of that. A meteor burns up before it hits the ground. A meteorite actually hits the ground. And that is a pretty rare occurrence, but it does happen. There's one notable meteorite. It's believed to be the largest to have ever struck the Earth that we have evidence of. And it claims to be the biggest in the U.S. Now, it didn't fall in the U.S. It's estimated to weigh around 15.5 tons, and it struck around 13,000 years ago. I don't think anybody here on the stream was around for that one. And it actually happened that it hit up in Canada. Well, if you go back 13,000 years, the Ice Age was beginning, and so we had glaciers, and that glacial ice then pushed the meteor from Canada all the way down into Oregon and to near the Willamette Valley, and that's where it then rested for hundreds of years. The tribal people there felt that it had religious properties, that it was sacred, and they treated it accordingly. And then in the 20th century, you know how this goes, some businessman wanted it and took it, bought it, and there has been a kerfuffle over who owns it, who has the rights to it, and so forth. And it now resides in a museum in New York, I believe. So anyway, sad ending to a meteorite story. All right, let's see if we have any more questions. Probably not. Ashlyn Emmons met Michael Fecka. Yeah, he made an appearance down there on Friday. I was off that day. Please make the bad weather come after 4 on Saturday, Van Park neighborhood. Yeah, I know. We've got a lot of stuff going on outside. I have a co-worker here trying to get married on Saturday. So Aaron and Elena, hopefully the weather will steer around. They're an outdoor wedding. They do have Plan B, so, you know, it won't be the worst thing if it rains. But, you know, you kind of want it not to rain on your wedding day. So anyway, that's all I have for you tonight. I will update the forecast here on 14 News at 10, and then I'll see you back here tomorrow night on the 9 o'clock streaming show. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. We will see you at 10.